Now back to the story of Sound City 92. Now Norwich doesn't usually spring to mind as the centre for thriving musical talent. In fact, it was back in 1985 that the NME said that musically Norwich is deep in the heart of village idiot land. Well, it appears that times have changed. So why was it that Radio 1 and the multi-million-pound record industry chose Norwich for this remarkable musical festival? Keith Doyle has been out and about finding some answers.
Live on stage, the House of Love!
The House of Love, one of the main attractions for Sound City.
We decided that rather than just bring an event to Norwich, as one might take the festival to Edinburgh, what we wanted to do was to bring an event here, but also to create something out of Norwich. In other words, to show Norwich to the rest of Britain. So we decided on a two-pronged approach. We were going to bring in a lot of major current British bands, but we also wanted to include a lot of Norwich bands. And fortunately, of course, we've got people like Catherine Wheel, who are a really successful burgeoning band from the Norwich area. And Cathy Dennis, who we're very, very pleased to be involved in this week. Well, you may have noticed that Simon Bates is up here, and a number of other... No, you haven't seen Simon Bates. Well, he's been around, but he's very, very modest, likes to stay in the background, you know. And I thought he might be in the background.
30 bands are taken to the stage at the waterfront. Tickets for some of the gigs sold out within hours. The big name concerts are the main part of Sound City Week, but there's lots more to it besides that.
It's not just bands playing, it's studios in operation, it's small labels setting up, it's the whole business, and it's the processes of what the music industry is actually about. But people perhaps tend to think about the music, they tend to think about the stars, but they don't necessarily think about all the processes involved in actually producing them. And that, of course, that's what record companies spend their time doing. And we hope that through the workshops and the seminars that are taking place this week, that people will get a better understanding of that. And that's our other reason for getting involved.
Mud may not be taking part, but one ex-band member has been particularly enthusiastic.
We supported Sound City because we could see that this was an opportunity for Norwich to be spotlighted on the national stage, to give a real fillip to the musical industry in Norwich, and particularly for all the people who are involved in creating and playing music, as well as, perhaps most importantly of all, the people of Norwich to enjoy music.
The most important thing to realise for those people who don't like music is that 1 in 4 of every record produced in the world has British content, and the British record industry singly is one of the largest earners of overseas currency. So what we're talking about is something that will bring pleasure to a lot of people, hopefully encourage some young bands, but more to the point, be good for the country.
One of the week's highlights is the last night concert with The Farm and Carter, where they're just 2 of over 100 bands playing in the city, firmly putting Norwich on the musical map.
Well, Keith Doyle reporting. You join me back outside the waterfront, where I'm joined by Radio 1's John Peel and the director of the waterfront, Anne-Louise Workman. John, I noticed in one of the papers this week you were quoted as the East Anglian musical guru.
Yes, I don't pay a great deal of attention to that sort of thing, I must say, just because I live in East Anglia, and there aren't any, I don't think there are any other people who could be qualified as a guru in this context.
So I can just call you Mr. Peel?
You may do that, or John even, if you want to be really informal.
What do you think is the benefit that will emerge from this sort of week?
Well, hopefully it'll encourage local musicians and local venues. Obviously it puts the spotlight on the city for a short period of time. There have been people working here for quite a long time, actually, to bring music to Norwich, and also to give local bands a platform on which from which they can be heard. And it'll just encourage that process to continue, I hope.
But for a long time it was suggested that the only thing to emerge from Norwich of any value were people like Kathy Dennis.
Well, that's all right, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I don't think Norwich has any particular, I don't think there are more people here who are skillful or talented than there are in any other comparable city. But the point is that there are venues where people can play, so this naturally encourages local bands, and you're likely to hear more of them as the result. You've got this place here, you've got the Wild Club, and you only need a couple of enthusiastic people working on behalf of the local musicians to really make quite a difference in the community.
Well, I think that introduces you, Anne-Louise. Yes. I mean, it was very crucial to the local music scene that the waterfront opened, wasn't it? What do you feel that you've achieved?
I think in the first 18 months we've given a platform for local bands. They've been able to support the national acts that we brought up to the city. With this week in particular, for them to broadcast nationwide is extraordinary. But also within the whole week of the festival, we've had films on at Cinema City. We've involved the Arts Centre, the Puppet Theatre, pubs and clubs in and around the venue, in and around the city, and it's just been a tremendous feeling throughout.
But isn't there a feeling that this could be a flash in the pan? It'll be here this week and then next week nothing?
No, because the waterfront will still be here, and the venues will still be here, and the local bands will still be here, and a lot more people will know about them, and it'll encourage people to go and enjoy it, and people to form bands and play music.
Who would you think are your tips for the top, if we can call it that? I mean, is it that? Is it tips for the top, or is it more an independent music chart fame that people here are looking for?
It's the opportunity to play, and it's the opportunity to be heard, and not just to be bounded by Norwich. So, I mean, it's actually being broadcast nationwide for the bands who've got the broadcast. It's also people coming up and seeing the other bands performing. So, it's a whole variety of opportunities that are given to the bands, really. I don't think I have any tips for the top, really. Some bands will make it, some bands will just carry on playing for the sheer enjoyment of playing.
Well, it's been very nice to speak to a guru, Mr. Peel, this evening.
It doesn't happen to you every day, I bet.
It doesn't indeed. Thank you very much indeed. Well, the Sound City continues until Sunday, and some of the bands playing here tonight will be heard live on Radio 1 FM from 7 o'clock. Now it's back to the newsroom, and Stuart, another guru.